Hello friend, how are you? I'm Advocate Gaurav Kumar Gupta. I am Chartered Accountant and MBA Finance and PhD holder. My project Derivative Market Future Trend Analysis. आज हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया के बारे में जिक्र कर रहे हैं। आर्टिकल 52 के बारे में जिक्र कर रहे हैं। आर्टिकल 52 हमें बताता है द एक्सिक्यूटिव, द प्रेसिडेंट एंड वाइस प्रेसिडेंट, राष्ट्रपति, उप राष्ट्रपति, द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया, there shall be a president of India. Executive power of the Union. Executive power of the Union. The executive power of the Union shall be vested in the President and shall be exercised by him either directly or through subordinate, officer subordinate to him, accordance with these constitutions. Without prejudicing the generality of the foregoing provision, the Supreme Command of the Defence Force of the Union shall be vested in the President, and the exercise thereof shall be regulated by law. Nothing in this article shall be deemed to transfer to the President any function conferred by any existing law on the government of any state, other authority, prevent Parliament from conferring by law functions on authorities other than the President. Election of President. The President shall be सेक्शन आर्टिकल 54 में इलेक्शन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट, प्रेसिडेंट का इलेक्शन आर्टिकल 54 में होता है। यूनियन का संघ का जो एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर है आर्टिकल 53 में, और प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया आर्टिकल 52 में डिस्कस किया गया। इलेक्शन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट का इलेक्शन जो होता है चुनाव, द प्रेसिडेंट शैल बी इलेक्टेड बाय द मेंबर ऑफ एन इलेक्टोरल कॉलेज consisting of the elected member of both House of Parliament, the elected member of the Legislative Assembly of the state. In Article 55, state includes the National Capital Territory of Delhi, Union Territory of Pondicherry. आर्टिकल 55 बताता है मैनर ऑफ इलेक्शन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट, प्रेसिडेंट के इलेक्शन का मैनर क्या है। मैनर मीन्स शिष्टाचार या उसका तरीका क्या है। एज फार एज प्रैक्टिकेबल there shall be uniformity in the scale of representation of the different states, the election of the president, for the purpose of securing such uniformity among the state inter se, well as party between the state as whole, union the number of votes, which each elected member of parliament and of legislative assembly of each state is entitled to cast at each election shall be determined in the following manner. Every elected member of legislative assembly of a state shall have as many votes as there are multiple of 1,000 in the quotient obtained by dividing the population of the state by the total number of the elected member of the assembly. If after taking the said multiple of 1,000, the remainder is not less than 500, then the vote of each member referred to in subclause A of further increase by 1. Each elected member of either House of Parliament shall have such number of votes as may be obtained by dividing the total number of votes assigned to the number of legislative assembly of the state under subclause A, B by the total number of the elected member of both House of Parliament, fractions exceeding one half being counted as one of the other fraction being disregarded. The election of president shall be held in accordance with the system of proportional representations by means of the single transferable vote, and the voting at such election shall be secret ballot. In this article, the expression population means the populations as ascertained at the last preceding census of which the relevant figure have been published, provided the reference in this explanation to the last preceding census of which the relevant figures have been published shall until the relevant figure for first census taken after the year 2026. have been published be construed as a reference to the 1971 census. आर्टिकल 56 हमें बताता है टर्म ऑफ ऑफिस ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट। प्रेसिडेंट के कार्यालय का टर्म क्या है? द प्रेसिडेंट शैल होल्ड ऑफिस फॉर a term of 5 years from the date on which the enter upon his office, provided the president may be writing under his hand address the vice president resign resign his office. The president may, for violation of the Constitution, be removed from office by impeachment in the manner provided in Article 61. The President shall, notwithstanding the expiration of his term, continue to hold office until his successor enter upon his office. Any resignation addressed to the Vice President under Clause A of the proviso of the Clause 1 shall forthwith be communicated by him to Speaker of the House of the People. Eligibility of re-election. A person who has held office as president shall, subject to the other provision of the Constitution, be eligible for re-elections to that office. आर्टिकल 58 बताता है क्वालिफिकेशन फॉर इलेक्शन एज प्रेसिडेंट। प्रेसिडेंट के लिए चुनाव के लिए क्वालिफिकेशन क्या? आर्टिकल 58 बताता है नो पर्सन शैल बी एलिजिबल फॉर इलेक्शन एज प्रेसिडेंट अनलेस ही इट इज़ ए सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया, वो भारत का नागरिक हो, हैज़ completed the age of 35 years, is qualified for election as per member of House of the People. A person shall not be eligible for election as president if he holds any office of profit under the government India, the government of any state, under any local other authority subject to control of any other state government. For the purpose of this article, a person shall not be deemed to hold any office of profit by reason only that he is president या vice president of the union या the governor of any state, is a minister either for union or any state. अब आइए आर्टिकल 59 कंडीशन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट ऑफिस। राष्ट्रपति के कार्यालय का कंडीशंस क्या है? द प्रेसिडेंट शैल नॉट बी member of either House of Parliament of House of the Legislature of any state, and if a member of either House of Parliament of House of Legislature of any state be elected President, he shall be deemed to have vacate his seat in that House on that on which he enter upon his office as President. The President shall not hold any other office of profit. The President shall be entitled without payment of rent to use of his official residence, and shall be also entitled to such emoluments, allowance, and privilege as may be determined by Parliament by law, until provision in that behalf is so made. Such emoluments, allowance, and privilege as specified in the second schedule. The emoluments and allowance of the President shall not be dismissed during his term of office. आर्टिकल 60 बताता है ओथ और अफर्मेशन बाय प्रेसिडेंट। प्रेसिडेंट द्वारा अफर्मेशन लेना या शपथ लेना। एवरी प्रेसिडेंट एंड एवरी पर्सन एक्टिंग ए प्रेसिडेंट या डिस्चार्जिंग द फंक्शन ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट शैल बिफोर एंटरिंग अपॉन हिज ऑफिस मेक एंड सब्सक्राइब इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया इन हिज absence the senior most judge of the Supreme Court available an oath or affirmation in the flying from, that is to say, I AB do swear in the name of God upon solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President, discharge the function of the President of India, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, defend the Constitution and the law, that I will devote myself to service and well-being of the people of India. आर्टिकल 61 बताता प्रोसीजर ऑफ इम्पीचमेंट ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट। व्हेन ए प्रेसिडेंट इज टू be impeached for violation of the Constitution, the charge shall be preferred by either House of Parliament. No such charge shall be preferred unless the proposal to prefer such charge is contained in a resolution which has been moved after at least 14 days notice in writing sign by not less than one-fourth of the total number of the members of the House of has been given their intention to move the resolution. Such resolution has been passed by majority of not less than two-thirds of the total member of the House. When a charge when a charge has been to so preferred by either House of Parliament, the other House shall investigate the charge cause to charge be investigated, and the President shall have the right to appear to be represented at such investigation. If as a result of the investigation a resolution is passed by a majority of not less than two-thirds of the total members of the House by which the charge was investigated, caused to be investigated, declaring that the charge preferred against the President has been sustained, such resolution shall have the effect of removing the President from his office as from the date on which the resolution is so passed. आर्टिकल 62 बताता है टाइम ऑफ होल्डिंग इलेक्शंस ऑफ फील्ड वैकेंसी इन द ऑफिस ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट एंड द term of office of person elected to fill casual vacancy. And elections to fill a vacancy caused by the expiration of the term of office of president shall be complete before the expiration of the term. And elections of fill a vacancy in the office of president occurring by reason of his death, resignations or removal otherwise shall be held as soon as possible, after and in no case later than 6 months from the date of occurrence of the vacancy, and the person elected to fill a vacancy shall subject to provision of Article 56 entitled to hold office for the full term of 5 years from the date on which enter upon his office. The section at the Article 63 बताता Vice President of India. There shall be Vice President of India. आर्टिकल 64 बताता है द वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया वाइस प्रेसिडेंट टू बी एक्स ऑफिस ऑफ चेयरमैन ऑफ द काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट द वाइस प्रेसिडेंट shall be ex officio chairman of the council of state and shall not hold any other office of profit, provided that during any period when the vice president act as president or discharge the function of the president under Article 65, he shall not perform the duty of the office of chairman of the council of state, shall not be entitled to any salary allowances payable to the chairman of the council of state under Article 96. council of state का मतलब हो गया राज्यसभा. The vice president to act a president to discharge his function during casual vacancy in the office during the absence of president. Article 65. In the event of occurrence of any vacancy in the office of president by reason of his death, resignation, removal, otherwise the vice president shall act as president until the date on which new president elected in accordance with the provision of his chapter to fill such vacancy enter upon his office. When the president is unable to discharge his function owing to absence, illness, any other cause, the vice president shall discharge his function until the date on which the president resumes his duty. The vice president shall during and in respect of मतलब के संदर्भ में to period while he is so acting discharging the function of president have all power and immunities the president entitled to such emolument allowance and privilege as may be determined by parliament by law until provision in that behalf is so made such emolument allowance and privilege as are specified in the second schedule. आर्टिकल 66 हमें बताता है इलेक्शन ऑफ वाइस प्रेसिडेंट वाइस प्रेसिडेंट का इलेक्शन द वाइस प्रेसिडेंट शैल बी इलेक्टेड बाय द member of the electoral college electoral college consisting of the member of both house of parliament in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of the single transferable votes, and the voting at such election shall be by secret ballot. The vice president shall not be a member of either House of Parliament or of a House of the Legislature of any state. If a member of either House of Parliament या of a House of the Legislature of any state be elected vice president, he shall be deemed to have vacated his seat in that house on the date on which he entered upon his office as vice president. No person shall be eligible for election as vice president unless he is a citizen of India, has completed the age of 35 years, is qualified for election as member of Council of State. A person shall not be eligible for election as vice president if he holds any office of profit under the government of India, the government of any state, yeah, under any local other authority subject to control of any of the state government. For the purpose of this article, a person shall not be deemed to hold any hold any office of profit by reason only that he is president, या vice president of the union of या governor of any state, is a minister either for union for any state. Term of office of vice president. आर्टिकल 67 बताता है वाइस प्रेसिडेंट का ऑफिशियल टर्म क्या है. The vice president shall hold office for a term of 5 years for the date of for the date of from the date on which enter upon his office, provided a vice president may be writing under his hand address to the president resign his office. A vice president may be removed from his office by a resolution of the Council of State passed by majority of all the members of the council and agreed to by a house of people. But no resolutions from the purpose of this clause shall be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution. The vice president shall not withstanding the expiration of his term continue to hold office until his successor enter upon his office. Article 68 बताता है time of holding election of fill vacancy in office of vice president. The term of his person elected fill casual vacancy. An election and elections to fill a vacancy caused by the expiration of the term of office of vice president shall be completed before the expiration of the term. And elections of fill a vacancy in the office of vice president occurring by reason of his death, resignation, removal, otherwise shall be held as soon as possible after the occurrence of the vacancy, and the person elected to fill the vacancy shall, subject to provision of Article 67, be entitled to hold office for the full term of 5 years from the date on which enter upon his office. Article 69 by the oath or affirmation by the vice president. Every vice president shall, before entering upon his office, make and subscribe before the president, some person appointed in that behalf by him, an oath or affirmation in the following form, that is to say, AB do swear in the name of God and upon solemnly affirm that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to the Constitution of India, to the Constitution of India. By law established, I will faithful discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter. Article 70 the discharge of president function of other contingency. Parliament make such provision as it think fit to discharge of function of the president in any contingency not provided in this. Article 71 matters relating to connected with the election of a president or vice president. All doubt and disputes arising out on in connection with the election of president या vice president shall be inquired into and decided by the Supreme Court, whose decision shall be final. If the election of a persons as president या vice president is declared void by the Supreme Court, act done by him, the exercise and performance of the power and duty of the office of president and vice president, as the case may be, on before the date of decision of the Supreme Court shall not be invalidated by reason of the declaration. Subject to the provision of this Constitution, Parliament may by law regulate any matter relating to connected with the election of President or Vice President. The election of a person as President or Vice President shall not be called in questions on the ground of existence of any vacancy of whatever regions among the member of the electoral college electing him. Power of President. Power of President. Power of President to grant pardons and the suspend, remit or commute the sentence in certain cases. The President shall have the power to grant pardons, reprieves, respites, remissions, punishment, suspend, remit, commute, sentence of any person convicted of any offense. In all cases where the punishment sentencing is by court martial, in all cases where the punishment sentence from offense against any law relating to matter to which the executive power of union extends, in all cases where the sentence is a sentence of death. Where nothing in sub clause A clause 1 shall affect the power conferred by law on any officer of armed force of the union to suspend, remit, commute, sentence passed by court martial. Nothing in subclause C of clause 1 shall affect the power to suspend, remit, commute, sentence of death exercisable by governor of a state under any law for timing in force. Extent of executive power of the union, subject to the provision of this constitution, the executive power of union shall extend to the matter with respect to which Parliament has power to make law, to exercise of such right, authority, and jurisdictions as are exercisable by Government of India by virtue of any treaty of agreement, provided the executive power referred to in subclause A shall not save as expressly provided in this Constitution in any law made by Parliament extend in any state to matter with respect to which the legislature of the state has also power to make law, until otherwise provided by Parliament, state any officer authority of a state may, notwithstanding anything in this article, continue to exercise in matter with respect to which Parliament has power to make law for that state. Such executive power function as the state officer authority thereof could exercise immediately before the commencement of this constitution. Council of Minister. Council of Minister add and advise president. Council of Minister में ऐड करते हैं एडवाइस प्रेसिडेंट. देयर शैल बी ए काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर विद द प्राइम मिनिस्टर. काउंसिल मिनिस्टर को प्राइम मिनिस्टर को काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर भी कहते हैं. एट हीड टू एड एंड एडवाइस द president who shall in the exercise of function act in accordance with advice such advice provided the president may require president the president may require the council of ministers to reconsider such advice either generally, otherwise the president shall act accordance with the advice tender after such reconsideration. The questions whether any what advice was tendered by minister of the president minister to the president shall not be inquired into any court. Other provision, Article 70 other provisions to the two minister. The prime minister shall be appointed by the president. Prime minister president द्वारा appointment होगा. The other minister shall be appointed by the president on the advice of prime minister. Prime minister के राय से अदर प्रधानमंत्री के एडवाइस पर राष्ट्रपति द्वारा अन्य मिनिस्टर को अपॉइंटमेंट किया जाएगा. द टोटल नंबर ऑफ मिनिस्टर इंक्लूडिंग द प्राइम मिनिस्टर इन द काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर. टोटल नंबर ऑफ मिनिस्टर इंक्लूडिंग प्राइम मिनिस्टर में शामिल करते हैं टोटल नंबर ऑफ मिनिस्टर, जिसको हम काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर भी कहते हैं. शैल नॉट एक्सीडिंग 15% of the total number of member of the House of People. हाउस ऑफ पीपुल में टोटल मेंबर्स का 50% से अधिक नहीं होना चाहिए. ए मेंबर ऑफ आइदर हाउस ऑफ पार्लियामेंट बिलोंगिंग ऑफ एनी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी who is disqualified for being a member of House under paragraph 2 of the 10th schedule shall also be disqualified to be appointed as a minister under clause 1 for duration of the period commencing from the date of which disqualification till the date on which the term of his office as such member would expire, where he contest any election of either house of parliament before the expiry of such period till the date on which is declared elected whichever is earlier. The minister shall hold office during the pleasures of the president. The council of ministers shall be collective responsible to the house of the people. Before a minister enter upon his office, the president shall administer to him the oath of office and secrecy according to form set out for the purpose in the third schedule. A minister who for any period of 6 consecutive months is not a member of either House of Parliament shall at expiration the period case to be a minister. The salary and allowances of minister shall be such parliament may from time to time by law determined until parliament so determined shall be specified in the second schedule. आर्टिकल 76 बताता है अटॉर्नी जनरल ऑफ इंडिया द प्रेसिडेंट शैल अपॉइंटेड ए पर्सन हु इज क्वालिफाइड टू बी अपॉइंटेड ए जज ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट टू बी अटॉर्नी जनरल ऑफ इंडिया. It shall be the duty of Attorney General to give advice to the Government of India upon such legal matter to perform such other duty of legal character as may from time to time be referred assigned to him by the President to discharge the function of conferred on him by under this constitution any other law for time being in force. In the performance of his duty of Attorney General shall have right of audience in all courts in the territory of India. The Attorney General shall hold office during the pleasure of the President, shall receive such remuneration as President may determine. अटॉर्नी जनरल ऑफ इंडिया का जो प्राथमिक होगा वो राष्ट्रपति डिटरमाइन करेगा. आर्टिकल 77 बताता है कंडक्ट ऑफ बिजनेस ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के बिजनेस का कंडक्ट क्या है. ऑल एक्सिक्यूटिव एक्शन of the government of India shall be expressed to be taken in the name of the President. Orders and other instruments made executed in the name of the President shall be authenticated in such manner as may be specified in rule or to be made by the President. The validity of an order instrument which is so authenticated shall not be called in questions on the ground that is not an order instrument made execute by the President. The President shall make rules for the more convenient transaction of the business of Government of India and for allocations among ministers of the said business. Article 78 बता रहा है ड्यूटी ऑफ प्राइम मिनिस्टर एज रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ द फर्निशिंग ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन टू द प्रेसिडेंट. It shall be duty of the Prime Minister to communicate to the President all decision of the Council of Ministers relating to administration of the affairs of the Union and the proposal of for legislation. दूसरा पॉइंट टू फर्निश all information relating to the administration of the affairs of the Union and proposal for legislation of the President may call for. If the President so required to submit for the consideration of the Council of Ministers any matters on which decision has been taken by Minister but which has not been considered by the Council. आर्टिकल 79 बताता है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ पार्लियामेंट. संविधान माने संसद का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. देयर शैल बी ए पार्लियामेंट फॉर द यूनियन which shall consist of President, two House of the none respectively as Council of State and House of the People. Council of State Rajya Sabha, House of the People Lok Sabha. Composition of the Council of State. Council of State का composition क्या. The Council of State shall consist of 12 members to be nominated by the President. 12 मेंबर जो होगा वो राष्ट्रपति द्वारा nominated हो in accordance with the provision clause 3 के अंतर्गत not more than 238 representative of the state of the union territory. The allocation of seat of council of state. Allocation means बांटना. काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट राज्यसभा के सीट को बांटना वी फाइल बाय रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स ऑफ द स्टेट एंड ऑफ द यूनियन टेरिटरी shall be accordance with the provisions in the behalf contained in the fourth schedule. The member of two nominated by the President under sub-clause A of clause 1 shall consist of person having special knowledge and practical experience in respect of such matter as following, namely literature, science, art, and social service. The representative of each state in the Council of State shall be elected by the elected member of the Legislative Assembly of the state in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of the single transferable. The representative of the Union Territory in the Council of State shall be chosen in such manner as Parliament may by law prescribe. आर्टिकल 81 बताता है कंपोजिशन ऑफ हाउस ऑफ द पीपल सब्जेक्ट टू प्रोविजंस ऑफ आर्टिकल 331 द हाउस ऑफ द पीपल shall consist of not more than 530 30 members chosen by the direct election for territorial constituencies in the state, not more than 20 these members to represent the union territory chosen in such manner parliament may by law provide. For the purpose of sub-clause A and clause 1, there shall be allocated to each state a number of seats in the House of the People such manner that a ratio between that number and the population of the state so far as practicable the same for all states. Each state shall be divided into territorial constituencies in such manner that the ratio between the populations of each constituency and number of seats allotted to each so far as practicable the same throughout the state, provided the provisions of sub-clause A of this clause shall not be applicable for the purpose of allotment of seat in the House of the People to any state so long as the population of the state does not exceeding 6 millions. In the articles, the expression populations means the populations as ascertained at the last preceding census of which the relevant figure have been published, provided the reference in this clause of the last preceding census of which the relevant figure have been published shall until the relevant figure for the first census taken after the year 2026 have been published be constituted for the purpose of sub-clause A of clause 2 and the proviso to that clause as reference to the 1971 census for the purpose of sub-clause B of clause 2 as referred to the 2001 census. Readjustment after each census. आर्टिकल 82 हमें डिस्कस करता है upon the completion of each census the allocation of seat in the house of the people the state and the divisions of each state into territorial constituencies shall be readjusted but such authority and in such manner as Parliament may by law determine, provide that such readjustments shall not affect representation in the House of the People until dissolution of then existing House, providing further that such readjustments shall take effect from such date as President may by order specify until such readjustment takes effect. Any elections to House may be held on basis of territorial constituencies existing before such readjustment. Such readjustment provided also that until the relevant figure for the first census taken after the year 2026 have been published, it shall not be necessary to readjust the allocations of seat in House of the People to state as the readjusted on the basis the 1971 census. The divisions of each state into territorial constituencies as may be readjusted on the basis of 2001 census under this article 1. Section at Article 83 Duration of House of Parliament. The Council of State shall not be subject to dissolutions, but a nearly a possible one third of the member of thereof shall retire as soon as may be on the expiration of every second year in accordance with the provisions made in that behalf by Parliament by law. The House of the People, unless sooner dissolved, shall continue for 5 years from the date appointment for the first meeting, no longer under the expiration of said period 5 years. Separate the dissolution of the House, provide that the said period may be proclamation in emergency is in operation, be extended by Parliament by law. A period proclamation emergency is a operation extended by Parliament by law a period not exceeding 1 year, at a time not exceeding any case beyond period 6 months after the proclamation he cast to operate. Qualification for membership of parliament. A person, Article 84 बताता है, a person shall not be qualified to be chosen to fill as the parliament unless he is a citizen of India and make a subscribe before the some person authorized is dead behalf by the qualify each citizens India makes the subscribe before some person authorized is that behalf by the election commission an oath or affirmation according to the form set out for purpose of third schedule is in the case of seat in council of a state not less than 30 years of age in the case of seat in the house of the people not less than 25 years of the age possess such other qualification as may be prescribed in that behalf by under any law made by Parliament. Article 85 session of Parliament prorogation and delegation. The President shall from time to time summon each House of Parliament to meet such time and place as think fit. But 6 months shall not intervene between its last sitting in one session and date appointed for first sitting next session. The President may for time to time prorogue the House of either House, dissolve to House of the People. Article 86 right of President address and send message to House. The President may address either House of Parliament, both House assembled together, and for that purpose required an attendance of members. The President may send message to either House of Parliament, whether with respect to bill then pending in Parliament, otherwise a House to which any message so sent shall with all convenient dispatch consider any matter required by message to be taken into consideration. Article 87 special address by the President. At the commencement of the first session, after each general election to the House of the People, at the commencement of the first session each year, the President shall address both House of Parliament assembled together inform Parliament of cause of its summons. Provisions shall be made by the rule regulating the procedure of either house of the allotment of time for discussion of the matter referred to in such address. Articulated right of Minister and Attorney General and Respect House. Every Minister and Attorney General of India shall have the right to speak in and otherwise to take part in proceeding either House any joint sitting of the House and any committee of Parliament of which he may be named a member but shall not by virtue of this article be entitled to vote. Article 89 the chairman of deputy chairman of Council of State. The Vice President of India shall be ex officio chairman of the Council of State. Vice President of India उपराष्ट्रपति काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट का एक्स ऑफिसो चेयरमैन होगा. द काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट एज सुन काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट का मतलब हो गया राज्यसभा. द काउंसिल ऑफ स्टेट शैल एज सुन may be choose a member of the Council of Deputy Chairman thereof and so of 10 as the office of deputy chairman become vacant, the council shall choose another member of the deputy chairman thereof. आर्टिकल 90 बताता है वैकेशन ऑफ रिजिग्नेशन ऑफ एंड रिमूवल फ्रॉम एन ऑफिसर ऑफ डिप्टी चेयरमैन, ऑफिसर डिप्टी चेयरमैन। अगले वीडियो में डिस्कस करेंगे आर्टिकल 90 पावर ऑफ द डिप्टी चेयरमैन ऑफ द पर्सन परफॉर्म द ड्यूटी ऑफ द ऑफिस टू एक्ट चेयरमैन। और आर्टिकल 92 द चेयरमैन ऑफ डिप्टी चेयरमैन नॉट प्रिसाइड while the regulations for his removal of office under consideration। और आर्टिकल 93 में बताता द स्पीकर एंड डिप्टी स्पीकर ऑफ द हाउस ऑफ द पीपुल। आर्टिकल 94 बताता है वेकेशन ऑफ रिजिग्नेशन ऑफ एनी रिमूवल फॉर ऑफिस ऑफ स्पीकर एंड डिप्टी स्पीकर। आर्टिकल 95 बताता है पावर ऑफ द डिप्टी स्पीकर अदर पर्सन परफॉर्म द ड्यूरिंग ऑफ ऑफिस ऑफ एन एक्ट एंड स्पीकर, द स्पीकर द डिप्टी स्पीकर नॉट preside while the resolution for him removal from office is under consideration। अगले वीडियो में हम आपको इसको डिस्कस करेंगे। आर्टिकल 97 भी को भी डिस्कस करेंगे, सैलरी एंड अलाउंस द चेयरमैन डिप्टी चेयरमैन स्पीकर डिप्टी स्पीकर। उसके बाद आर्टिकल 98 को डिस्कस करेंगे सिक्रेटरियल सिक्रेटेरिएट ऑफ पार्लियामेंट, उसके बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे। आज का वीडियो हम यहीं पे वाइप आउट कर रहे हैं। अगले वीडियो में हम और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया के और भी आर्टिकल्स को डिस्कस करेंगे। डेट्स ऑल।